Hey everybody, and welcome back to E4. My name is Sue and I am from OML Embroidery, and our Facebook group is OML Embroidery University, where you learn how to digitize and we have a great time. So join us. This is part two of Crazy Quilting. I think you guys should, if you haven't watched part one, you should watch it because it explains the procedure and everything, and you may get a little bit lost and a little bit confused if you don't understand how to do the crazy quilts. So I'm assuming that you guys all watched it and you understand what we're doing. We're doing the applique style and when to place stuff down. Now in this video, we're going to do the digitizing. So I'm going to leave this one up here for reference of what we can do or what we are doing. And we are going to work on the basics of it. But I just thought you guys, it would be helpful. I'm also going to try to remember, with the magic of editing, to put up the final one in the corner here. Hopefully it doesn't block too much of, or maybe in the bottom corner, because we don't use that too much, the finished one, so you can have a sense of what we're doing and hopefully nobody gets lost. So let's start a new one, and you want to go to the rectangle tool. Sorry, I don't know where I went there. I'm thinking ahead. I'm always thinking when I'm recording the videos. I don't script them or anything, so if I get a little lost or off in the corner, that's why. So what I call this, when I want to do a square or any kind of shape, I hack it out. So I just simply do a shape. You don't have to worry about the measurements. It's a whole lot easier to set up the measurements here, I find. It would be nice if I'd remembered to change it to an outline, but I never do, so I just kind of go with it. So instead of, spending 5 minutes pulling it out or, going like this and watching the numbers, I just hack it out, and then I know here I want it to be 7.5, and I want, let's unlock it, and I want this one to be 7.5. So we have a perfect square in the exact size that we want. So I find that easier. If you guys have, a faster way of doing it, let me know. Or if you just want to pull them out, go right ahead. That's fine. It's just me being me. So, okay, let's cut them out now. I'm not going to try to do it exactly as this one, but we're going to stick close to it for this one just so we can get the hang of it. So click, I picked the running tool, and click, and probably about there, and hit enter. Now, this isn't what we're going to, have it finally stitch out. This is just our planning stage. So I'm going to go here and then maybe kind of shorten the corner there and hit enter. Now this is just basically setting out our blocks. There's more than one way of doing it. I kind of had fun doing it this way. I thought it was good. Oh, are we stuck? Are we stuck? What happened? Well, don't know what that was. I'm working on a few screens here, so maybe that's what happened. I'm going to backspace here, backspace there, and I want to do this one because that one seems logical to me. And I kind of like how that one worked out. That's cool. So enter, so we have the line placed. And then I have this one. I would probably, if I was stitching, I would make these a bit closer, but we're just kind of figuring it out. So let's do here. Kind of see the shape here and then here. Yeah, doesn't have to be exact. You guys can just kind of, guess at it. And again, what I said in the first one depends on your material. It depends on the size. It depends on everything. So, okay, let's change this to a weird color. A little bit weirder than that. Nothing we're going to use. How about yellow? We might use yellow. So that's how I planned out my blocks, and I divided it. Now, I'm going to be deleting all of these yellow ones because they're just kind of hacked, and you don't want to leave. This is kind of, it should be a little more precise than that. So what we want to do is we want to do an outline, and we're going to merge it with the green. So this plus this is the first thing we stitch out. So let's go to our stitch. We're going to do it for reels now. and we're going to zoom in because I want to get this right, and I want to go from here and I want to go to here so we have a much better angle. And I'm going to go up. Actually, I am not going to go up. I'm going to go down to this one because we want this whole thing in one motion. There is no need to cut anything. So let's go up here. I'd like to do 0 so I can see it better, and then I'll precise set them down. That worked out well already. Look at this. So in the plotting, now it doesn't matter if you go back on it, that's fine. Back on it. Now I am going to zoom in right here because I want to hit it exactly there. And zoom back out. I'm just using my mouse to zoom. And there, and we're going to hit enter. So that's for reals. So let's get rid of that. I am on a Mac and my delete key doesn't work. So there we go. Another way of doing it. So that is our first thing stitching out, and it's going to stitch out in one fluid motion, and that is exactly where we're going to put all of our pieces. So that's great. Phew, that's done. No jump stitches. You can put these together in one. You don't actually have to, as long as you have closest join on it, they will connect quite nicely. But if you wanted to branch them, this is how we do it. Select both of them, and I just have to click on this color. You could click shift click or click control click, but just click on the color, and then you do branch. The shortcut is the letter I. Program that one into your keypad, and you can tell it where you want to start, and you can tell it where you want to finish, and boom, it's all in one spot. And then you get this nice little symbol that you know it's branch. So if you want to make changes to it, you can, but you have to break apart. So yay, okay, look at that. That is our first step. So when you're stitching this out, you are going to be, after this is stitched out on your stabilizer and on your thin fabric, you're going to be placing your Halloween fabric down. And that's why we did all these shapes, so you know where to put your fabrics. And try to have it overlap just a little bit. If you're a little short, it's actually going to show. So, but you don't have to have 2 inches or trim it out or anything. Slap it down. If it covers everything, woohoo, you've done it. So the next step is we want to get those stitched down. So at the machine, we have our fabric down. So, and I want you to zoom in and be a little precise on this part. And this is going to stitch it down. So we want it to match nicely. And you got to do the whole shape because we want all of it to stitch down, right? So let's do return. And you do want to change the color and so it stands out. And so actually, so your machine stops. And even if you have a multi-needle machine, I have lots of both. It's super handy to change the colors. It's easier to get your machine to stop. You just tell it to do colors that you don't actually have on the machine and it'll stop automatically. So then we move to the next one. Now I'm not going to show you all of these because this is just basic digitizing. So when you're stitching, when you're at the machine, you're going to put a piece of fabric down. Then you want this fabric to be stitched down, and we're just going to do this lovely running stitch and hit enter. Remember to do your closest joins. They're all going to be different colors, but it just helps with the movement of the machine. You can leave that one green and do this one next, do this one next, do this one next, and this one at the end. It doesn't matter what order you do them in, but I think you should, make it make sense so you don't make a mistake at the machine. You can start on this one if you want, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one at the end. Depending on how you cut the pieces, you could start in the middle and work your way out. It doesn't really matter as long as it's logical. You wouldn't want to start here and this be number 2, 3, 4. You're going to get mixed up. So try to make it as easy as possible and as logic as possible. So go ahead, you can pause right here, go ahead and finish all of these, change the colors, and then we're going to do the next step, which is a zigzag step. So I'm assuming everyone's got caught up with that. Again, I don't think I need to show you all of those. So now you have all the material pieces down in your hoop, and they've just got a little, you know, satin line, sorry, run stitch line on them. Now we want to do zigzag to really hold this down so we don't have any problems. So what we want to do is we want probably an open shape, I think, is the easiest way to do it. Now you can attack this a couple of different ways, and we're going to make sure that there's no trims and no jump stitches. There's no need for any of those in this part, because so far we have none, which is absolutely fantastic, and we want to keep doing that. So let's do open shape. Let's pick our, not satin, where was it? Motif, sewn motif, sewn motif. I can't wait to do those. It's so much fun. It's silly. And we want to cover all of these things with a nice zigzag stitch, same as you do an applique, and it just helps hold everything down. Now, again, I want you guys to be precise. We can basically follow along the same, zoom in if you need to. See, I was a little off on one because I didn't zoom in, but zoom in if you need to. And there we go. And you don't want to go over too many times with the zigzag again. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to hit enter. Why am I going to hit enter? Because I'm going to change to the running stitch, and I'm going to run up and hit enter, and then go back to our zigzag stitch, back to the zigzag stitch, and right to the end. Again, zoom in, take your time on this part. We're going to hit enter just because. So can you see why I did that? If we kept going with the zigzag stitch and we zigzagged up here, we'd have to zigzag back. And we don't want to do that. We don't need that much zigzag on it. If you notice, this white cross tells you where you left off. So if you ever get lost, because getting lost does happen, if you ever get lost, that's how you know where you left off, so you can make some fantastic connections. And if you think about it, it's easier than you think. Now, I'm going to cross over here because it is okay to do that. Now I'm going to hit enter because it's just a zigzag stitch. I'm going to go back to the running stitch, and I'm going to go from the white cross down to here so that we can make a connection. And then I'm going to go back to my zigzag stitch and be more precise. I was a little off on that one, and that's okay for me, but I want you guys to be nicely precise about it. And we want all the edges on the outside secured down with the zigzag stitch too. So make sure you go through that. Again, zoom in, you guys, and only go to here. Don't go to here. We don't need double. We don't need double. And return. And now we've done our second part with no jump stitches. How cool is that? If you've accomplished that, yippee-tie-eye, that's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. And that's how we want it. So zigzag, done. Absolutely done. Now the next part can be a little bit tricky because we want to cover these zigzags and the underlying stitches and all of the edges with a satin stitch for this style to make it look pretty. If you're doing the flip and fold, you don't do the satin stitches, but this is how we're doing it. Now let's start where we left off. Because you don't need to pause the machine this time because everything's stitched down. So we can do it in the same color. I'm going to switch to white because that's what I used in this one. And let's switch to satin stitches. Oh, the other thing I almost forgot. Oh my goodness, it is so important. On these zigzag stitches, you do not want underlay. So you must remember, and I almost forgot, take the underlay off and make sure you get both underlays off because we don't need underlay. Underlay on the zigzag, it would go up and down and up and then zigzag. We don't need that. Same with the satin stitches because honestly, the zigzag will suffice just fine as an underlay. Of course, there's no underlay on running stitches, so y'all don't need to worry about that. So, phew, I almost forgot. Let's go back to it. Let's do an open, let's do a satin, and let's rock this. So let's go do the long one, and let's zoom in, and we want it to go right about there, and we're going to hit enter just to see what we think. Now I am going to change the density just a smidge on that one, but I think that looks good. Now we're not doing the outside. We don't need to satin stitch the outside. Unless you want to, then go right ahead, but I don't want it done for mine. I thought the zigzag would be a lot easier to stitch through. So I decided to start there for no apparent reason. So now we got to plot out how we're going to do this. And we don't want the satin stitches to overlap. So my theory of it is that the longer ones get put in one piece and these short ones are up and down so that they kind of, it's more fluid, if that makes any sense. So I am still on a satin stitch. So let's go here. Let's do the fluid ones. And again, be super precise right here. And we're going to connect it. So let's go back to our running. And we want to do the next fluid one, which is right here. So let's go there. Let's go to our open. Satin is already there. And maybe I didn't plot it out right, but maybe I did. Maybe I did. So let's go here, and we're going to hit enter. We're going to go back to our running stitch, and we're going to go down to this one. Now, again, let's zoom in so I can show you how precise we need to be. You guys can always tweak it out. I found myself doing a lot of tweaking when I was doing this the first few times until you really get the hang of it. Just to make sure everything, like I want this moved up a little bit. I'm not going to bother with it right now, but I do want it moved up. And I want these to connect a little bit nicer than that. So you will want to do that. But for now, let's just get the basics down. So let's see, I picked the wrong one. I want to go back to satin. And we want this to look a little better than it does right now. But it's okay, that will be covered up. But we're going to go back and we're going to use the reshape tool, and we're going to set that up pretty. Okay, okay. And also like this one as well. That's not quite right. I might even stitch it out first. I might change it around a little bit. But for now, you know what? That's good. We want to connect here, and we want to do a running stitch. So make sure you plot it out so it works, and however it looks good. You don't have to worry a whole lot because it will be covered up by other stitches. So it's good practice. If you mess it up like I did, heck, don't worry about it. Just go back or simply just leave it. Now this won't show either, but I'd like this end tucked in a little bit. I didn't quite get it. But you know what? If you end up doing it like this, that's fine. Let's tweak one. Let's just show you how to tweak it. Now, these, I selected it. I'm moving faster than I think I should. I selected it and I hit the reshape. Now, these ones on the outside make it wider. This one, the yellow one, is what I need to use to move it. Isn't that awesome? Then we'll select. Now you have to be careful of what you're selecting because I selected the running stitch underneath it and that's not what I want. I want that one. There we go. You have to make sure you get it right, and let's move it up just a little bit. That's fantastic. Let's select this one. Let's move this guy up a bit. And you know what? There's not going to be any density problems, and it looks how I want it to look. I would see what I mean with the tweaking. You have to tweak a little bit, I found, because you don't get it right the perfect time, the first time. You might want to change the order of it, but having a little running stitch over here doesn't matter. I don't particularly like this angle. It'll be okay on that. So, you know, be a little more precise. I'd like you guys to, you know, adjust everything so it covers over your stitches, your zigzag stitches better than I did, but I don't think you guys need to sit and watch me fiddle around with stuff. just to get that part done. So fix it up. Be precise, make sure all your stitches are covered up properly. You can make it a little bit wider if you want to, but you don't have to. So before we go, let's click on all of the red. So make sure we take off the underlay. That's a very important thing. Now, make sure you get both. There's settings for 2 underlays. And when you select a whole bunch of things, if you see this, that means some of them are and some of them aren't. And we just want to get rid of them. It's super important that it's a time saver, it's a density saver, it's a mess if you leave them all on. Now you can leave the density how it is. I thought I would lighten it up a little bit by going to Object Properties. You can change the pull comp. That's a easy way if you're off a little bit, but you know, I kind of liked it the way it was. So this is another way of changing the width. You can just go in and do it. Okay, and if you decide you want to change the density of the satin stitches, you either select them all, and this is a good reason why to have the colors differently. I actually forgot to change it, but then it's easier to make, you know, these tweaks like what we're doing. So select the satin, and I just double check that I had it. Now you can do auto spacing and do it like that. You can adjust it. You can do different things. You can use these sliders. Now I'm going to do it extreme so you can see what happens. You can decide what you want. You can see kind of like the edges are a bit off. So 50 is probably what I liked. It's not quite full out. You can see the difference. You can see the stitch count on the bottom, so you can tell if you're putting, I'm removing 200 stitches, so obviously I am changing the density. Oh, I had a little error there. I am changing the density on it, and that's how you know which way to do it. So I would reduce it a little bit. I kind of thought it stitched nicer, and that way too, if you make a mistake like I did, that these ones aren't quite connected properly, then the density isn't going to change anything. Normally you don't change, I wouldn't recommend changing the density on this, on satin stitches, but we're going to be doing so much more. I thought it was a good idea, and I liked how it turned out. So go ahead and change the density on these. And then we will get to the real fun stuff in the next video. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying this Crazy Quilt series. I hope you guys are following along and understanding everything, because these are so much fun to do. So don't forget to participate in the channel so I can keep doing videos like this for you guys for free. Like the video, comment with a smiley face. That's all you have to do. Share with your friends and tune in for the next video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.